Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Okay. I think that you had a good day. Now this is a time of sharing with you my life story. It is a true story of my life and how I've lived since I've born until today. I try to be someone concise and tell you some details regarding my life. From my childhood, from 1991, I was born in northern Kivu, in DRC, on 12th December 1991. In northern Kivu, as I said, now I'm single, I don't have any child, I don't have any wife. And I'm a Kisiba refugee camp dweller, is where my family is living, and all my folks and siblings. And I'm a Kefla Kisiba student. Now I'm going to tell you about our life in DRC. What I can remember and hear from my parents is that we have left DRC in 1995 due to tyranny. Because my parents lived in Congo, but they were the Rwandans. They left Rwanda in the 50s, in the 1950, 59, those periods, and they lived in DRC a long period of time. And my father was born when they were going to Congo, and my mother was born when they were in Congo. We were living in a region which is called Masisi. It is in northern Kivu. I put a map here. Unfortunately, I didn't use the projector to see the map very well. I should know the location. And we flight in 1996. It was a post-genocide time in this region, because many people were leaving Rwanda and going to Congo, and we alternate. We came in Rwanda when others were going to Congo. And then, at that time, I lost my siblings, our junior in my family. His name was Maombi. He died when he was leaving Congo. He has been killed by the militias. And my uncle and the brothers of my father, 3 brothers, dead in that time. And now I can continue and tell you about the life that I lived in Rwanda. But before proceeding, is that at that time I was not living with my parents. My father was living in Uganda, while my mother was living in DRC. At that time of war, we separated. I was living with my grandmother. And at that time, I came living in Gisenyi. At the time of war in Gisenyi, I returned back in Congo. It was in 1995. In the 96 now, I was in Congo. And now, when we left Congo and coming in Rwanda, we lived in Gisenyi, in a refugee camp which has been called Mudende. And this University of Mudende was there. It has been called Mudende when it was in Gisenyi, and it has been shifted again. And at that time, we were in a refugee camp. It was in the midnight. I heard the voices of people crying. And when I went out, I saw that the sheetings, sheeting, they have been ignited by the militias. At that time also I lost my sister. And my grandma, we were together, also dead. I went to hide myself in the bridge of the road. I took the blanket, because it was the night time and it was raining. I took the blanket and I slept under the bridge. And when I understood the voice of the people who were talking Kinyarwanda, speaking Kinyarwanda, I left the camouflage and I saw that there are the army, the people, the one that army which secured people at that time. And I've been taken to the stadium with Gisenyi. I don't know if you know this, the Gisenyi Stadium. It's called Omuganda. And I passed the night there. At that time, I was not with any person from my family. And I've been kept in a refugee camp which is called Rangela. I don't know if you know it. And then I understood that I have my sibling, I have my family members living in Gitarama. I've been taken at Gitarama in Ruhango. And I lived with, I don't know how I can call her. She was the cousin of my grandmother. I went to live there. I understood that they are taking refugees from Gisenyi to Kibwe. At that time, the Red Cross was searching the people who left their families. At that time, I went in Kalonji and we lived in the Rubengera region. Rubengera is near Bwishura in Kalonji district. At that time, I was not with any from my family, but I saw some people who knew my father, just because my father was a nurse, they knew him. And I went in Kisiba refugee camp, where I came from these days. They have shifted the camp of refugees to Kisiba because they were saying the refugees cannot reside near the borders of the camp that they left. They have been taken to the countryside. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about life in Kisiba. I think that you're together. Okay, this is a picture of Kisiba camp. It's not big, but you can see. If you want, I can share with you this PowerPoint and you can have time of skimming through it. Now, in Kisiba camp, I've seen one of the family of my grandmother, and after 1 year, I saw my mother came in a group of refugees which joined the camp. At that time now, I was not taken as an orphan because I saw my mother. I started the primary school. I started the primary school in 1998. At that time, we didn't have any classroom. We took the notebooks and go in the bush, as I can say. We sat in a group of students, of the pupils. The teacher should hang a blackboard on a tree. When it was about to rain, we should run and go home. It should be taken as a holiday or as a rest time. Yeah. And going to school, I should take a desk from home and go with it to school and go back with that desk. Yeah. It was a challenging life, but it existed, and I can't be scared by that because it passed. And now, when I arrived in P4, I thought about going in army. I thought, why can't I be a soldier? I saw many people going in the army. I thought, I don't have a big family. My family is poor, and the person who had a boy who can make money was seen as a rich person, and we saw him as a privileged person. That's why I thought I can join army. And I went in army, but I didn't pass 2 weeks there. After arriving there, I passed 3 nights without sleeping, with many, and even it was do you know Gabiro? You understand people are talking about Gabiro. I was there, and I've been camped in the coaching of the army. After 1 week, the Red Cross also came, saying that they need a refugee who is in the army. They said that it's called Sadiq, and they came and took me home. At that time, I arrived at home with shame, yeah, because I was a small kid and I could not say anything. After arriving home, my mother had to me saying, "Oh, what like a wonder boy who's written the Bible, welcoming the family," and at, due to blessings, I saw that my father came home, and it was about 10 years not seeing my father. At that time now, I repeated the class of B4 because I didn't study with courage, and life was somehow big. And after finding my father, I got empowerment academically. I started to make it at school. I started to be strong. And from that day, from that year, from that P4, I didn't repeat the class again because I got stubborn. I get stubborn. And I started the secondary school in 2006 at College Amahoro in Sibakam. At that time, I have succeeded the examination of joining the seminary, Catholic seminary, I think you know it, the minor seminary at Nyundo. I went there and I passed 2 years there in learning Catholic charisma, Catholic dogma. And due to the lack of fundings, I've been compelled to go back in Kiziba for continuing high school at Kiziba. And at seminary, I have studied music, some things related to spirituality and civism. When I arrived at College Amahoro now, I was really intelligent, and I started to play piano in the Catholic Church. At that time, I had built a connection with some priests. That's why when I arrived in Senior 3, I got support from those priests, and my school fees has been paid by Caritas. I think you know Caritas is the Catholic NGO which helps people in travel. And then I finished my high school at which is called Gaseni in the Western province, and they told me that I have to choose a school which is near the camp because they cannot find the tickets of going further. I had the bus. I had got the marks in the O level, which gave me the permission to go in the group officiel de Bhutan. It was called group officiel de Bhutan because in 2008, where we started to use the aggregates and the division, and I got 15. 15 allowed me to go in the group officiel de Bhutan, but I didn't go there because of where you started. Yeah, I didn't go there because of the fundings. And then I can tell you my life after high school. Yes, it's going chronologically. What do you laugh? Chronologically.
All right, that's good.
Okay, teaching career. Now, after finishing high school, I thought that I had to go to university. I went there to SFB, but I didn't have the national ID. I went there where they said that I'm not a Rwandan. I didn't attend the university in 2012. And then I went home. After that, because I had a connection with the priest at the Catholic Church, they gave me a job of teaching. I went to teach music. That's why I put this picture when I was playing piano at the church. I went to teach music at Rambura. Rambura is in the Western Province. And then after that, I went also in Kibungo for teaching music at high school. Also, when I finished my job at Kibungo, I went home in Kiziba. I taught English in Senior 1 and Senior 3 Geography. Until today, taken as a teacher at that school because I didn't resign my job when I said that I'm going in internship. I left someone in taking my attributions. When I be going back there, we will leave the place. Yeah. Then we have applied to Kepler in 2014 for being in the cohort 2015. At that time, Christina Russell left in camp. They told us that we had to apply. I was a teacher. We applied by using the hard copies. Here we were applying. This boy is called Oscar Bahati. He was my friend, and this is Felix Kayambe. This is Russell. We went together in a high school class there at Koresha Mahoro. There I applied, and my application has been considered, and I passed the admission test at Kibuye in Uara College of Health at Kibuye in Yamisha. There, I waited for the results. They told us that we are not eligible for coming in Kigali due to the performance. We have to wait that we know what will come after. Then I was waiting for the response from Russell, and they told us that they are going to establish Kepler Kiziba. That's when I started learning at Kepler. And then, because I was a teacher, I should prepare the notes, filling the academic, the teaching documents, and reading the pre-classes, and doing the assignments, attend the class, and attend the job at the same time. I should wake up at 6 a.m. and sleep at the midnight. Yeah. Because I should not give up on my job, because I should generate a kind of income for my family. And also, I was waiting for the university. That's why I persisted. And then, I have been able to excel at Kepler. At that time, I have been enrolled in the first group to do the CFA project. Who don't know Kepler system, we have what we call CFA project, Quality for America project, and I started working on my associate degree. I finished it in 3 months and a half, and I passed the panel review. After succeeding the panel review, they told me that I have to start for the internship, and I applied here, and I have met Nash before that time, and Joel, and they have told me about Kepler when they were in the career fair at Kepler. At that time, now I have left this motto and come here for the internship. This is a brief story from my life up to date, and now I've been enrolled to be a bachelor's of arts in communication with a concentration in business. My platform is about to be opened because it will be opened on 1st March, 1st May, and I will start working on it. And I think that after this, I will try also to apply for a master's if it's possible, and God knows what will happen after, because I'm believing that even though the past has been somehow sad and stressing, I know that from down, you can come from down and rise on the high level. That's, I'm believing that the future will be brighter than the past.
Great.
Thank you. This is the
Does anybody have any questions?
Feel free to ask me the question because I'm really open for any question.
My question, so how did you maintain despite a very challenging life of literature and
It's because whatever I achieved, I didn't invest any kind of effort because I was vulnerable. I didn't have any source of income. Only I saw people coming telling me, you have to do this, you have accepted your application, you are going to be helped to study the high school, going to go to university up to today. That's why I'm believing. I cannot continue having that kind of mindset that I will sit as a bystander, but I am believing that tomorrow will be better. And in that time, when I was in that kind of misery, I used to pray harder and harder. When you see me passing here to the street or sitting in the office, you cannot know that I'm a good Christian when we are talking. But when I'm at my place, I kneel down and pray God. And I pray for my future because my future has been really stressing. That's why I'm believing that it will be good. And I get blessing when I do the examination. It's not because I'm intelligent or bright, but I believe in blessings and hard working. Yeah.
And did you have like any idea that supported you to join the army?
At that time, the government needed the I didn't have any document. Yes, only I didn't even have a student card. I was at primary school. What I knew, I was in a karate team. I was in a karate team, and I had a flexible body. My body was somewhat flexible. They told me that I'd be in the special forces, and at that time my heart went, and I thought about army by hook by crook. So that's why I went there. They accepted everyone. Yeah. When the Red Cross came to pick me, they have been so sad. They said that they are missing a member. Yeah. And I was really, really inspired by being a soldier, but it was not in my destiny. Yeah.
So are you still like inspired, or you that inspiration?
Okay. Nowadays I meet people that were in the same cohort when I joined there. They are big men, they have money, but some of them also dead. And I am satisfied by being a civilian. Instead of going there, I can have a blue-collar job and try to generate money for myself. And I think if I can be a big person who can advocate for my community instead of being a soldier, I can have a business by business and generate jobs for others and make money. Yeah, I am not inspired by being a soldier here.
So my question is, through the life you've been living, I see that you kind of have some goals and the hope for the other people in your community, like that. Who do you think is most inspiring you into reaching to that goal in life? You know, like anyone you think is your role model.
Who is inspiring me? My role model. I don't have a person that we have lived together my whole life. But I've taken a good example for my grandmother. My grandmother was really old, and she died when I was keeping her in my hands. Yeah, she died when I was seeing her, and she had perseverance, and she had positive mental attitude, because at the time when after eating, we didn't have good food. I think you understand, being in a refugee camp, I should eat ugali from first to third. So yeah. And when I change the food, I should eat hard potatoes, and I should count the quantity of food instead of the quality. Yeah. At that time, my mother took me aside and told me, my grandmother, you have to stay in line. Work hard. She told me that me too, I will not give up on you until I die. That's why I take her as a precious person or a hero. And she was poor. I was not with my mother or my father, but she perceived. That's why I take her as my role model. And me too, I think in the future time when I be getting income or being rich, I will help someone or I will try to do like to make a copy of what she does. She did.
Wonderful.
And that's why I take her as my role model.
Good.
How is living in Kigali different than you expected?
That's a challenging question. Living in Kigali, when I was in Kiziba, I thought that Kigali is like a paradise. I thought that no person can be hungry in Kigali, you talk by food. At Kigali, I thought I'm too black when I was there at Kiziba. And at the time of living, at the time, am I too funny? Okay, at the time of leaving Kiziba, one of my friends told me, "You speak, you are having a bath. I think that will come after having a bath on your head." And it was really kidding. I thought that Kigali is a better place and it's better than Kiziba, of course. What I like in Kiziba is that Kiziba is a place where I have many friends, and Kiziba is a place of my life story. But if you compare life here in Kigali and Kiziba, it's totally different because at Kiziba they eat one. There are some families which eat 1 time per day, others 2 times per day. But here you can eat in the morning, lunch, and dinner, take a coffee there. And Nash is among the people who make me feel at home when I'm here in Kigali because he approaches me and asks me how life is going, how are you feeling with this place, and he makes me feel at home when I'm here. I really like this kind of family. I cannot say that I'm not satisfied with the service here. I'm really enjoying Kigali. And also the people we are living together in the group house, we are having a better life. We share the stories. They provide me help when I need it, and they also me, I can help them. And when we are talking, we talk friendly. Joel knows that. I think we get the good moments when we are there in the group house. And yeah, I'm satisfied with it.
Yes, sir. I'd like to ask you, in the last time I heard that you have a piano in your phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, in your phone.
Yes.
So I want to know, how do you consider to know to play piano in your life? How do you consider?
Yeah. I've been a composer of symphony. I can compose a good symphony. And I knew to play piano. Do you know clarinet?
Yeah.
Do you know violin?
Yeah.
Yeah. And some chords on guitar when I was in senior 2. And I thought that nowadays I see that it was like a way that God was creating for me. Because after writing in senior 3, I've been supported due to those skills. Yeah. I have been the third in the school in all level performance, but we were not supported by the government, even no NGO, and I've been the first to leave the game from upper level. And when IT, international team, came to support the student at Kiziba, one student took my place, and it was really good because of the help. Yeah, that's why I consider playing piano as the way that God was creating for me. I should not reveal it, but it was true. And nowadays I like playing piano. When I get piano at home, I do not even stroll on the street.
You can play that for us, right?
Do we have a piano?
Yeah.
It's too small. It is too small in my phone, but when if you can have a big piano here,
It's okay if you
I will play it for you. Or we can even make a symphony or an anthem for symphony. Yeah. Asoka was singing while I was praying. I think Madam heard us. Heard us. Okay, I'm going to play and you sing that.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
I remember the chord. I was
You
playing.
increase the volume.
Okay, think the volume. Asoka's phone was sounding well.
Let me give it. It's
Ah,
better.
sing.
No.
I think we should have like a St. Photos concert sometime.
Right.
Am I the only one in this bloody team that doesn't do any music?
Yeah, here I have the software that I use in composing music, which is called Music Score. I can play one note, some notes that I play. Yeah, see, I write the notes and then I play them. And when I'm playing those notes, I play them for my God for sure. I play gospel. But don't worry, I can play it for Sedmonto. Yeah, it's for Easter. Can I use the tempo?
You ask him.
It's classical. Yeah.
Is there any one last question? Yes,
Yeah, for me, my question is too simple. As a person who has been affected mostly by wars, or what do you think is like the biggest cause of wars in Africa, especially the Great Wars?
Come on again.
that's a simple question.
So like someone who has been affected by many wars.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think is the biggest cause of wars in Africa, especially the Eastern region? And
Okay.
how can we prevent them?
As a flashback, I've said that before leaving Congo, we had the problem of tyranny. Yes. because Congo has barbaric leaders, I can tell you a clear picture of living in Congo how it is as an effort person. Living in Congo, you can meet a problem and you go to the government agents, tell them I've met the problem, the person came in my thought and make things like this and this. They can tell you, defend yourself. If you are able, kick him out. Yes. If you're not able, accept that you're not able. Yes. And as someone who arrived at school, if you think about the problem which is affecting our community, it is caused due to the social fragmentation in our region. Because we left Congo due to the ethnic wars. Yes. People were saying in Rwanda have been chased out, saying that you have to go back in Rwanda because you're Rwandan. Yes. And the leaders also were biased, as I can say. They supported the one group of people and hate the other group of people. That's why, in order to change Africa or our region will not be changed by anyone from outside who doesn't know what is happening or the root cause of this. And I think another cause was the thirst of wealth. People who wanted to be rich. As in 2000, I heard that in our plot of land in DRC, they have exploited mercure. Do you know mercure?
Yeah.
Mercure in our land. And my father understood that. We thought to go back there. They said that they can cut your throat if you go back there. Yeah. And people who are using our land do not want us to go back there. People need to be rich. Yes. And also, people need to be supported by the people from their families and support them to meet others in our region. And as you know, what happened in Rwanda, in Congo, and what's happening in Burundi, and what happens in Kenya, it's the same. Yeah, it's the same. Our region needs to be unified, and people think socially more than thinking on one thing of people. Yes. And we need a unified community more than looking at the physical appearance of people, the kind of languages that they speak, where we are one community. If you believe in God, God created a person, He didn't create an ethnic. God created a man to be loved and wealth to be used. The problem arises when wealth is loved and the person is used. Yeah. That's why our region is subjected to that kind of problems. And I think I have hope that our life will change because we are having access to university, tertiary education. We will try to use those skills in order to try to rectify our life. We cannot predict that I'll be a famous person, but at least if I will not be able to solve the problem of the whole region, I can solve the problem of my friend or myself. Yeah. Yeah. But the target is to transform the understanding, the stereotypes that people have, that our region can't be changed.